Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Ask an Introvert podcast. I'm your host and life coach for introverts, Jennifer Ho. As you all know, I host the group program Making Friends as an Adult Introvert. And today I have a special guest on with me, one of my clients from the second cohort. Brittany, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Brittany, and I guess what should I introduce myself as actually? So many things. Right now, I'm a grad student in chemistry. I'm a PhD candidate, but in my online life, I'm a website designer, and also I have my own podcast called Beyond Your Science, and I do some other entrepreneurial things. So that's kind of the gist of it.
Awesome. So, first on a scale of 1 to 10, so that we get a baseline of what kind of introvert you are, 10 being a complete hermit, how introverted are you?
I think I'm a 5. I'm, like, right in the middle, like an ambivert. Like, sometimes I am good in, like, an extroverted setting, but I do need that time to recharge.
So, when you decided to join the Making Friends group program, what were you thinking?
I think for me, I was thinking, like, I feel okay about my friendships, but I wanted to feel, like, more confident in it because I know that, like, especially now that I'm in grad school away from home, like, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, and I'm from Houston, Texas, so that's, like, 1,000 miles. So I feel, like, physically away from my friends in Houston, but, like, I'm also in, like, a different city, and I have, like, my own friends here, but, like, I felt a lot of, just kind of, like, an emptiness with, like, my friends from back home. Like, I wasn't sure if we would still be friends once I got back from my program.
Mm. So, you mentioned that you weren't sure how your friendships back at home would be after you came back. What specifically were you worried about?
I have 2 friends from back home, and at least the 2 that I kinda had in mind when I was starting this program, and, like, for me, like, one of them, I didn't really, like, check in on her a lot. It was, like, very sporadic, like, every, like, 6 months or so, and then I felt, like, guilty that I didn't check in with her more. So, I was, like, wondering, how can we, like, make our friendship better? And then for the other friend, we, like, text a lot, but I wanted to talk to her in person more, like, over Zoom or something like that. But sometimes I felt like I was bothering her because she was living a quote unquote adult life. Like, she had a job, she's now engaged, and just like a lot of things. And I just felt like I was bothering her by like wanting to spend time with her. And Zoom is probably, like, not the best way to maintain a friendship or, like, but, like, I wanted something more than just, like, texting.
And how do those friendships feel and look like now after the program?
Yeah, so the program happened it, like, coincided with me going home for winter break, and so I was able to see both of these friends in person during winter break. And for the first friend, I just straight up asked her, like, "Hey, do you, like, just prefer to, like, be friends in person and, like, actually see each other versus texting?" Because like, I feel like with texting, it just kinda falls off for both of us because she's, like, in med school right now, and like I also just, like, not super great at texting sometimes if I get really busy with something. And then she also confirmed that with me that, yeah, she also just prefers to have, like, an in-person friendship. And, being able to be, like, super honest with her about that helped me feel less anxiety about, like, being friends when I return. And she also shared with me that she had another friend who, like, left for a different, like, medical program or something for a couple of years, and, like, now she's back in person, so, like, now they hang out more often. So, it was just reassuring to hear from her that I was kind of, like, on the right path in terms of, like, what she was looking for, but, like, having that confirmation helped me feel more secure in our friendship. And then for the other friend, I think seeing her in person was just mostly just, like, for fun, but then I also just, like, have been a little bit more proactive about asking her, like, "Hey, are you free at this time? Like, let's have, like, a phone call or, like, a Zoom chat or whatever." And she's been, like, pretty receptive of that, and, like, she and we're trying to, like, involve each other more in, like, our normal day to day rather than making it mm, like a special thing. But I also now just feel more secure in general about that friendship because we both like affirmed with each other that we want to be like lifelong friends. So if we go like a week or two where I don't text her or she doesn't text me or like it's not like an immediate response or something, I also don't feel like something is wrong, for example.
So, without having established that that's the standard that you hold in each of those friendships, do you think you would have been able to achieve this feeling of security?
It would have taken definitely like a lot longer. And I think at the time, I was just feeling like more anxious about it because of like other life things, I guess. And like, I think it was also partly because like, while sometimes I'm here and I have my friends here, but sometimes there's like a bit of a loneliness that comes with it because like they didn't really know me before I came here. And like, I wanted someone who knew me before I came here. Like they knew like my circumstances at like that point in time in my life. And the fact that I didn't have any like friends, not like a romantic partner, but like a friend who could kind of like relate to me or like empathize with me. That's kind of like what I was missing at the time. But now I feel like it's it's not a bother. I'm not bothering them by like reaching back out and like letting them know if I like want to, like, spend time with them or, like, to talk to them or something like that.
What gave you the courage to just straightforwardly establish what your friendships look like with these two friends?
I think it's because it kind of goes back to, like, like, your dream life or whatever, but I think that, like, I kinda like, my goal after I finish this program is to move back to Houston, and, like, I also didn't wanna feel like I'm, like, starting over in terms of, like, looking for friends and things like that, and those 2 friends in particular were, like, my best friends in college. And so I really just wanted to like develop that further because I think like a lot of my friends have been friends where it's like they were just like that friend in that season of my life. But I really wanted like a friend for like life or at least longer than just a season. Cause I feel like a lot of my friends, just because of like the different activities that I do, or like just because of school, like I had friends from high school, then I had friends from college, and now I have like my grad school friends. But I really wanted to establish like some friendships where it's like longer than that.
Awesome. I guess what I'm trying to ask is like, was there anything that gave you the idea that, oh, I need to have this conversation now?
Honestly, it was that I think you had like a workshop or something. And it was like on that workshop where I really felt like this is something that I really want to change, like
Mm.
internally, because I was kind of tired of always like wondering like where I stood with my friends. Because, for example, I feel like I'm always the person reaching out. I'm always the person who's a planner and things like that. And I used to feel like why doesn't anyone reach out to me? Why doesn't anyone plan things with me, you know? And it made me feel, I guess, lonely that I was always the one doing that. And so I didn't like feeling that way. But I think that now I think I just understand that like that's kind of like my friendship style. and and like I've accepted it and I'm not as like I guess insecure about how the friendship is going based on like what my friends do or don't do, like in the way that I want, I guess.
That really resonates. I'm also the one who plans and takes more initiative. And for a long time, I felt lonely because of that too. It's like, well, why don't other people do this for me? But I started to see it as, oh, they get to experience this because I'm their friend. And it just made me more proud and more secure in myself. So I can see why you decided to prioritize working on your friendships, but what exactly led you to reach out and work with me? Was there anything different about my approach or anything that really resonated with you?
Mm, well, I mean, I like your vibe. It's very calming. But I also think that like I've been following you online for a while and I've always like been curious about it. Like it just never really hit me until like I guess that moment that it was like important to me to learn the skill or like to like not really learn it because like I know how to make friends, right? But it's more kind of like being more intentional about that. And I think that's something that you're really good about is like being intentional about like relationships or like boundaries and all those things. And that was something that I wanted to kind of like spend some time thinking about. So I'm really glad that we had this space and all the conversations we had about friendship and stuff. It really just gave me like another perspective because I think a lot of my friends, we don't normally talk about our friendships in a very like intentional way. And we're not like, I want to be your friend for whatever. It just kind of like naturally happens, mostly out of proximity or just like because there's like similar hobbies or interests or things like that. But I think the other thing that you really exemplify a lot is like values, like kind of like aligning your values like with friendships or like anything you do, honestly. And yeah, recognizing that has helped me kind of figure out where I want like my friendships to be at, like which ones to prioritize, like which ones like to spend more time on or to be more present for rather than just like being there, I guess.
Was there anything that transformed or changed for you the most since starting work on your friendships?
I think I have been able to feel less guilty about like certain friendships that I choose to not invest more in. Because like for example, I used to feel bad that like someone wanted to be friends with me, but I like didn't want to be friends with them. But like I didn't want to be, rude about it, right? But like understanding that there's like different tiers of friendships and like that also comes with like different boundaries or like different levels of like care or attention or just like presentness. I don't know, whatever. But like basically, understanding that just because like I don't have to be like one to one reciprocal to everybody, and that it also may not be one to one to me. Like just because I give to like person A doesn't mean person A is gonna give back to me in the same way, and like that's also okay. And I think also just yeah, just understanding that like as long as I feel like I'm fulfilled by the friendship, like it doesn't really matter like to like what where they are or like in my tier list or where they think I am on their tier list. I think as long as we both are like satisfied with where our relationship is, then that's fine.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like you really only have control over yourself. Even if someone is your tier one inner circle, closest, bestest friend, you have no control over their feelings. And I think
Mhm.
one of the things that you define for yourself as a tier one friend, someone who's in your inner circle, would be willing to bring it up with you if they're not
Mhm.
feeling fulfilled in the friendship.
Mhm.
That really helps take some of the burden off of you because you can't you can't solve for a problem you don't know about. And it's not gonna be helpful if you create problems that might not even exist.
Mhm.
What was your favorite part of the program?
I really liked having the space to like talk about friendships. And then you also pointed out a couple of some of like biases or like some like weird things that I was thinking that like you're like, well, why do you think this if like blah blah blah, right? And I was like, yeah,
Mm.
that is like kind of weird that I think that like why do I treat this person differently because of this, but like not this person differently for whatever reason. And it just kind of helped me see like I guess understand what's going on in my head, I guess. That like I didn't like intentionally assign these things to these people, but somehow it like popped up, I guess, in our conversations. And then kind of bringing that to light and then really like challenging it has helped me be more aware.
Yeah. I I mean, on my end, I was really pleasantly surprised by how much you opened up because the more that you get out of your head, the more that I can see and draw patterns from and reflect back to you. And I think so much of the time, a big struggle for introverts specifically is we might have a really narrow idea of how a friendship will work. And part of it is throughout our lives, we've just been striving to protect our time and energy and not drain ourselves or overburden ourselves, that we sometimes close ourselves off to more possibilities in our relationships and especially in our friendships because they're kind of like the more optional relationship in life, even though they're not. Yeah. So it was really fun for me to get to poke at your brain like that. I'm curious, what's a thought or opinion you've changed your mind about when it comes to your friends?
I think that when I first started, I felt like if my friends were in like relationships, like it would affect our friendship in some way. But in reality, like even my best friends from college, like they were in relationships when we met and we still became friends. And I was in a relationship and I'm in a relationship now. And like, but like I had this friend in grad school, like she's in a relationship already. But like when we first met, I thought we were just all friends. But then I later found out that they were secretly dating. I guess it wasn't a secret, but like they told me they were like, oh, we're actually like been dating. And I was, like, really surprised by that, but, like, once I found that out, it made me hesitant to continue building the friendship with her, because I felt like I was bothering them, like, I didn't wanna impose and things like that. But, yeah, during, like, our time together, you kinda pointed out, like, what makes it different if she's in a relationship, you know? Like, you can still be friends and, like then, like, obviously, I have been in a relationship and like the entire time I've been her friend or, and with my other friends. So it's like just because you're in a relationship doesn't like hinder you from making friendships. I think maybe it's just because like in the past I did have like some friends who like like we were friends, but the majority of the time they were like with their partners type of thing. So it was kind of like even though I was in a relationship, I felt like I was third wheeling. So I think for me, just like feeling that third wheeling wasn't fun. But now I think it doesn't really matter. And if I want to be their friend, like I can be their friend. I don't also have to be friends with like their partner. But it's just a coincidence that we're all friends. So it's okay. Yeah. So I think just like being more open to that and not like seeing a like relationship status as something that hinders building a friendship.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely unfamiliar to become friends with 2 new people, not knowing that they're together, and I can see why your brain and even my brain would be like, "Oh, well, should I even pursue these friendships? Am I just getting in the way?" Like, those are very natural thoughts to have, but they're not necessarily true, and specifically with you, the funniest thing to me is like, well, I was like, you've been in a relationship this whole time." So, yeah.
Yeah.
So should
And I think
people not pursue friendship with you?
yeah, and the other
Yeah.
thing is that, like, I had friends in college who were already dating
Mm.
when I met them, and I became friends with both of them. And I don't feel, like, insecure about our friendships at all, like and I don't even talk to them. So which is really funny because, like, I just mentioned earlier that, like, I felt insecure about not talking to a friend for, like, 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. But, like, these friends, I literally don't talk to them. I maybe say happy birthday to them, or they'll tell me happy birthday or, like, happy new year, Christmas, whatever. So it's like very rare, but like I feel super secure in our friendships because I just know that like when I get back, like yeah, I can hang with them and that's not a big deal. Or like if I needed them for something, like that's also not a big deal. So I think it's really weird that like I had different perceptions of friends when I'd have like other friends where like that perception like does not like those beliefs do not like exist for that certain friendship. So yeah, just like I wish I could just like keep taking that like energy into all my friendships. And I so that's something I'm trying to work on.
I think it's good that you know now and you see it because it's so much easier to recreate something that we already have existing than to feel like we're just starting from scratch or doing it for the first time. And I think just the longer you live, the more life experience you have, and it's hard to see that, "Oh, I have actually done this before," or if I want this friendship to feel more secure, I can see, "Oh, how did I do that with this other one?" But when we're freaking out, all we can see is the thing that we're freaking out about in front of us.
Right.
Yeah. So looking back, if one was in your shoes where they're like, "Oh, friendships are important to me, but I don't feel like I need to do this work now," or they're hesitant about working on their friendships or getting coached on it, what would you say to them?
Hmm. I feel like maybe like that time where you feel like you don't really need it is probably like the best time to work on it. Cause it's kind of like preventative care, right? Like you don't want to wait till you feel like super lonely and or like really struggling to try to figure out how to like build friendships. And like for me, also, I didn't feel like super low. I mean, I go through like bouts of loneliness, but that's just like it's not because like I'm not like around people, but I just recognized that like I was like, I feel okay about this, but like I know it can be better. And like if you have that like small bit of you where you're like I want this to be better, I think it's worth it to invest the time to kind of figure out like what it is that you want and see like how you can make that happen. Because I think because it's worth it because like friendships, you know, they're for a lifetime or they can be for a lifetime. So, you know, and then they're just as important as romantic relationships, like your like familial relationships, of course, very important. Romantic relationship is important, but platonic relationships are also very important. And I think that like we would all benefit if we like invested more time and energy into our platonic relationships as much as we did our familial and our romantic relationships.
Mm, that's so good. Preventative care.
Mhm.
I love that. Yeah. For someone who doesn't accept it as preventive care, what do you think is the worst that could happen to them in their friendships?
I mean, like worst case scenario is that like I guess like the easiest way I can like kind of put this analogy into use is like let's say like you just invest so much time into like your romantic relationship, for example. And I was a bit like guilty of this in the past as well, where I spent almost too much time on the romantic relationship. But then like what happens if it like doesn't work out, right? Like I feel like you would have to kind of in a sense like start over or like with your friendships where you kind of have to like dust them off, I guess, or something, or try to like rebuild that connection. And I think that that would be really hard when you're going through something like a breakup or even you know anything else like major life events, right? Like you want to have just like a like another form of community there to like support you besides just like your family and your romantic partner. So I think having more people in your life is only better, I think. Or not more, but like people that you value, I guess is a better way to phrase it. Like make building that support network.
That's really nice. So when you joined the program, what was your biggest goal?
I think my biggest goal was to mostly just stop feeling insecure about the my current friendships. I don't think like my goal was to like not feel lonely. I think feelings of loneliness will happen occasionally, but I think that feeling like I know the friendships will still be there even though like I don't have to like maintain them. I think that was kind of my thing. I felt like I had to actively maintain the friendships in order for them to be fresh or whatever. But I think after finishing, I realized that like not like friendships don't necessarily need like constant maintenance. It's just like it's mutually agreed upon. But I guess I just realized that the friendships I do have, like I I could benefit from like cultivating them further because sometimes I would feel like, oh, I should make like new friends because I don't feel satisfied with like the current friendships. But I don't think that was true. I think I just needed to figure out how I wanted to cultivate my current friendships and like feel more fulfilled from those instead of like trying to like start over with like somebody new.
Yeah. So what did you figure out about how you wanted to cultivate those friendships?
I think I just wanted to like spend more time with my friends
Mm.
and like just like trying to involve each other more in like our normal day-to-day lives. And I hope that's something that I can do more of in the future. Like even now, it's like things like, you know, if we can go to the gym together, we go grocery shopping together. Like that's the type of like friendship I want to have more of rather than just kind of like, oh, do you want to like come over for a party or something like that? Like I don't really like want to be hosting all the time. Like I just want friendships that feel like it's like integrated into your life. And I think at the stage of my life right now, it's not like that. That's just because of like how things are. But for example, things like walking home together and just like chatting on the way home, like that's something I enjoy. Or making dinner together, so trying to find those like little doing more of those like little things, and also just being more vocal, I suppose, about like what it is I want to do with them, or how I want things to go, or whatever, like things that I actually want, rather than feeling like, oh, I have to like cater to
Mm.
them all the time just so that like they want to hang out with me. Like I think that like for me, a real friend would be down to do what I wanted to do, or like they would notice. Like for example, I have one of my friends here. We had dinner together the other day, and she was just like she was coming back from a date or something, and I was like, okay, I'll make dinner for us. Usually she would make dinner with me, but just because of scheduling, I decided to make the dinner. And we ate dinner, we just chatted and things like that. And I had like worked out earlier that day, so I felt a little tired. And we were just sitting on the couch, just like chatting. We were trying to figure out something to watch, but we never found out anything to watch. And she was just like crocheting or knitting. I forgot, but she was just crocheting or knitting. And then she noticed I was like really sleepy, and she was like, "You know what? I think I think you're feeling a little tired. Like I can leave you, and you can like just hang out and chill or whatever." But I had like a great time or whatever, and I really appreciated that she like noticed that I was tired, but she still like thanked me for dinner, and she still had a good time. And it just like reaffirmed to me that like she's a really good friend, because like, you know, she still followed we had our dinner, and we did have some time to chat, but like she was also just like very attuned to my needs as well, without me having to tell her like I need you to go because I'm so tired. But yeah, just like more integrated life things like that is like kind of what I aspire to have with friendships.
Mm. That sounds like a cozy friendship right there.
Yeah.
I remember one of your insecurities, or one of the things you were insecure about, is like you didn't know what type of friend you were to other
Yeah.
people. So after going through the program, how do you see yourself as a friend now?
I feel like to the friends that I am currently in contact with, and like the people that I see often and talk to often, well, like we mentioned earlier, I am like the planner friend. So I will be the one to be like, hey, do you want to like meet up and do these things or whatever? But I also think I am also the type of person who would try to like, I wouldn't say offer advice, but more like try to give like perspective, or like, I would say coachy, because I'm not really a coachy person, but I do like sometimes be like, oh, like, what makes you think that? Or like, well, why would you say like, something like that, just to kind of like poke around and see like what exactly they're thinking about.
Mm.
Um, and then I also think that I am generally pretty good about like remembering things like birthdays, or like things that are coming up like with friends. Like if they say like, "Oh, I'm going here," and then I'll be like, "Oh, how was that thing you did?" Or, or what it, I don't know. So I guess attentive, or at least I like, yeah, I guess attentive is the best word. I can't think of any other words right now.
Yeah.
Uh yeah. Or like, and I also think I'm also someone who likes to give my friends new experiences, or like I'm always like down to try things, and like whatever it is like they want to do, especially if it's like an activity or food related. I'm usually down to like do those like experiences, down to try things once. Like for example, I had a friend here who was like, he really needed a sub for ultimate frisbee. He was down bad. And I was like, do you really need somebody? And he was like, yeah, we like really need somebody, otherwise we can't play. And I was like, okay, well, I've never played ultimate, so I'll go with you. And he was like really happy that I like helped him out for that one time. And ultimate is very hard. Ultimate frisbee is so hard. I cannot like run that much. But that's kind of, I guess that's like a best one of the better stories that I can share about like type of friend that I am.
Yeah. Can I remind you, you coined a term for it, that you're a versatile friend.
Oh yeah, yeah, the versatile. Yeah.
Yeah. So to sum it up, what would you say your three biggest wins were from the program?
I guess I would say the first one was the one we just talked about, was like identifying the type of friend I am, the versatile friend. Like I'm down to do whatever, usually experientially. And Yeah, because I just like experiencing like new things, and I think it's quality time is really important. The other thing was feeling more secure in my friendships, and kind of just like having that trust that when I return back home, for example, that we'll be better friends, or not better friends, but we will resume the friendship or like build from there. And that's just kind of helped me feel more reassured, like while I'm here in my grad school program. And then I would say the last one is also just understanding, I guess, friendships in general. Cause I think before, maybe it was just like the way I was raised too, is I used to see things as like, I wouldn't say transactional, but definitely like reciprocal. Like I would think, oh, if I give them like, X amount of energy, like that same person needs to give back X amount of energy. But I think what I've learned through our work together, but then also just kind of like now that we're not working together, but like paying attention more to like how I see my friendships, is that like I may get it in one way from one person, but then I'll like give it to another person in a different way or something like that. But it's kind of like it come off one way and then it all comes back around eventually, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. Yeah. So then seeing friendships less in that way has helped me feel also less upset when, somebody doesn't, when like a friend doesn't reciprocate in a way that I want. I feel at least more accepting of like how things are. And it just made me feel more content in general instead of like like constantly like dissatisfied. Like, oh, why isn't this person doing blah blah blah? I just feel more like, oh, maybe this like maybe that's just not their way of showing friendship. Like they show friendship in like other ways.
Yeah, I definitely think you get out of it what you put in, but you never know how you're gonna get it back or from which person.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, what kind of person would you recommend the Making Friends group program to?
I mean, honestly, like if you are like me and you're just kind of like wondering, how can I make my friendships better? I think that's like where you're at. Cause it's like I mentioned earlier, it is like preventative care. It's like working out, like you're not gonna wait till you're older to build like strong bone density. Like when you're like 40, like it's not that it's too late, but it's a lot harder to like build bone density when you're already at that age, right? Like so, starting earlier, starting now if you can, when you have the time, you have the energy to like think about those things, like it's gonna be worth it. Like, and it's like an investment in your future as well. Cause like friendships take time to grow, right? And so you definitely, you want to be growing the right things, or like the plants that you want to actually grow. So yeah, and you have to be intentional about it. And so like being clear about that from earlier, sooner rather than later is probably better.
I should make that a homework in the program. Like, what kind of plant is your friend?
Oh, yeah. It's just like mix two different analogies, like working out and the like plants.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me to talk about your experience in the program and to let the people out there who want more from their friendships or feel insecure in their friendships that there is hope for them and that they can change this part of their life.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yay, how fun. Thank you so much, Brittany. Now, listeners, if you're interested in joining the group program Making Friends as an adult introvert, the next cohort starts in May. You might be thinking that this is something you can do later, but as Brittany mentioned, this is preventative care and you don't want to wait 10 years later to figure this out. You can spend 6 weeks right now because this is a 6 week program with weekly coaching calls, weekly worksheets that support the topic of the call so that you can reflect and come prepared for discussion and get coaching, and unlimited messaging support within the Slack community. The overarching goal of this program is for you to make friends you have a future with, whether that's making new friends or being more intentional with your current friendships. And we will dive into how that looks specifically for you. You can sign up for the program right now at byjenniferho.com/making-friends. The link is also in the show notes. If you have questions about the program, let's get them answered. You can DM me on Instagram or LinkedIn or send me an email. I'll leave all of that in the show notes as well. Thank you again for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.